Hello, everyone, and welcome to the seventh episode of the Teen Talk podcast. And today I'm here with yet another special guest. I'm here with Sukaina Thawer Auntie. So, Sukaina Auntie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Abir, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and to serve others.
Likewise. So, today's topic is actually a very, very interesting topic, but yet a very deep topic which needs to be addressed. So, the topic is on the impact of emotional suppression and negative self talk on teenagers today. So I think emotional suppression is something which is honestly relevant for everyone, not just teenagers. And like, let's go back to my parents' generation or even before them. A lot of times, our parents were told things like, don't cry, you need to be strong, don't be weak, and stuff like that. Which unfortunately, when you don't heal and you don't work on that, you do pass that on to your children, and then they start, suppressing their emotions. And coming to low self esteem or negative self talk, a lot of parents tell themselves and also their children stuff like, you're not good enough, you look like really fat, or you look ugly, or you're not good enough, you can't do this, you're not capable, you don't have the ability. So people actually start thinking that, and children and teenagers today actually think that they're not capable. So, my first question, and I would just want to dive right in with it, is that how does emotional suppression affect teenagers and the youth today?
The thing is, today the teenagers are so aware of their issues, which is amazing. Back in our time when we were growing up, we had, parents being very hierarchical, punitive, judgmental, and the parent used to come from one-way street. It's my way or the highway. So it was just either submitting to the parent or rebelling. And rebelliousness means you have to fight. And I guess that kind of parenting led to a lot of timidness in the person who was growing up. So this particular child who was being, bullied by the parents sort of because there was no safe space to feel their emotions. There was no safe space to articulate how they felt. And hence they had to suppress who they are. And when a child is born, they are born with two needs, which is and these are innate needs: attachment to the caregiver and being authentic to themselves. When a child does not get a safe space to feel their feelings, to voice their, concerns, what happens is they sort of shrink a little and they stop trusting their inner voice because what they have to do now is make sure that they are attached to the caregiver because attachment is vital. They cannot sacrifice that. What will go is actually the authenticity. So that now the child has to adapt in this environment and sort of shrink a little, people please, or maybe acquiesce. And what happens then is that you lose your true self. It's there, but you have lost it. And you are not sure of your decisions because you did not get a safe space to articulate how you feel, what you want. And every time the parent was either very judgmental or very criticizing. So, all these criticisms that you get from different places, they become your inner voice. And now
Mm.
that person, when that person grows up, they have a lot of self-doubt. They are sitting on the fence. They are not sure of themselves. And what happens is they will seek to ask other people if their decision is correct because they are not sure of who they are. They are not in tune with their gut feelings because their gut
Right.
feelings were already like detached from the time they were young. They were told every decision they made, it was, there was a lot of judgment from the parent. And hence, this, self talk becomes negative. They're doubting themselves. They're sitting on the fence. It's very difficult for that individual now to take decisions in life.
Right. I think that's very interesting because, like you said about authenticity, I feel like a lot of times, and I'm talking about myself as well, a lot of people, put on these fake masks on who they really are because they really don't know who they are, and they're trying to be someone who they're not. So, and even people pleasing, like you said, it's such a common thing. It's so easy to say yes to people, but later the only person who suffers is yourself, because you're not being authentic at all. And that's another thing you mentioned, you're not authentic. So I think these are some really, really major self side effects to emotional suppression. And hopefully, with time, and like you said, we're more aware now. So I think with this awareness we all can definitely work on ourselves, and take it step by step to recognize that this emotion exists and to feel it. And I highly appreciate you for saying that. Now, coming
Yeah.
to the second question, what are some very common myths about therapy, and what's the truth? Because a lot of people think, oh, you need to be insanely crazy to go for therapy. So, what are some common myths, and what's the actual truth?
Okay. So, you see, many people think therapy is for weak people, people who cannot actually, take decisions or feel overwhelmed, or maybe if they are going through a midlife crisis or they are going through depression and anxiety, which is very common nowadays. It's unfortunate that our teenagers are going through a lot of depression and anxiety. And this is also because of suppression of emotion, right? So parents are bringing up kids, who are not having a safe space to feel their feelings, or the parent is oblivious of their own feelings, and hence they are projecting their anger, blaming the child. So when you are not seen, heard, or you don't feel you matter, you don't feel loved, because emotional validation is key for a person to feel, valued, to see that their voice matters. And hence, when that is missing, what happens is that, when you grow up, you feel sort of unsure of yourself. You feel crazy. You don't know how to make decisions. You are self doubting yourself. And that's why the myth about therapy is usually that, weak people take therapy. Therapy is expensive. That's another myth. So weak people take therapy is not true, because every individual needs support. And if you did not get that support in your childhood, with your parents not being emotionally available, not being supportive of maybe your career choice, what happens is that you feel like you need a safe space to talk. When you go
Hmm.
to therapy, it's a safe space to talk. There is no judgment there. The
Yep.
therapist listens to how you feel, validates your emotions, and tells you you are not crazy, and says to you, you are people pleasing because of your childhood upbringing. The environment was such you did not feel safe. So, people pleasing is actually a fawning response. So, you see, in our nervous system, we have fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And fawning is agreeing to everything that your parent says, because if you are going to say no, there will be an outburst here. There will be a reaction that's going to put you in trouble. So when a person doesn't feel safe, they go into a fawning response, which is they agree to everything that the parent is saying, because they know that if they speak their truth, the parent is going to be lashing out, is going to be punishing, and hence people get stuck in a fawning response, especially, I would say, girls or ladies getting
Yep.
stuck in fawning response. Then this particular person, like the female, the lady, they grow up, she grows up, she gets married, and she is stuck in another dynamic whereby now she is saying yes to her spouse, to her in-laws, and to everybody around her, and she has no voice. And so the childhood experiences repeat themselves because of this fawning response. And then the person feels very stuck, because what is their truth is not being said out of this fawning response. They feel stuck. They feel like, I'm not important. My voice doesn't matter. There's a lot of frustration. And then all this pent up energy actually, uh, what happens is the person suppresses their emotions because they are not being their true self. They're saying yes to everyone to make sure they don't rock the boat. there is peace in the house, everyone is happy with them, but they feel miserable because their
Right.
truth is still within them. They are not speaking how they feel in the fear of offending the other person. However, now that depression takes a toll on them, and hence they have to now seek therapy, whether it's depression or anxiety. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, they need validation. And when they get that in a therapeutic space, they feel seen for the first time. They feel heard for the first time and they feel safe. And now they connect the dots. Oh, the reason I people please is because I never felt safe to be myself in my childhood. And hence, therapy is so useful to shed light on your triggers, on how to work on yourself and be, your authentic self, trying to have a voice. Because if you didn't get that in your childhood, then this is your pattern you are going to be stuck in.
Yep, absolutely. And I think it's so important what you just said, because a lot of people, they have these such unrealistic pictures of therapy that, what is the therapist going to even do? They're not going to really help you. But I think even what you said about, when women get married, they're now saying yes to other people. So, I mean, what do you really do in that situation? Like, um, in the sense of you're saying yes to everyone. So you would say that therapy is the answer.
I would say yes, therapy is the first step because it's not so easy to come out of a fawning response when you were brought up with parents who were not emotionally available, or you see, you did not feel safe to be yourself. And hence, you had to adapt. And when you adapt, this becomes your coping mechanism. And a coping mechanism is something you did repeatedly. And so you already have the neural pathway of people pleasing now. Now, to say no is really difficult. So, what happens in a therapy setting is first you have the awareness of why you do what you do. Then you are
Mm,
aware of your triggers. So then you come to know, okay, whenever I'm overwhelmed, I have 10 things to do. And if somebody is inviting me to their birthday party, I can say no and tell the other person, you know what? I just cannot come. I really, appreciate this invitation. And so you learn to speak your truth, whereby, it's okay to say no. The therapist explains to you have to activate your adult self. You are no more a 5-year-old who is depending on a parent for their safety. You are now 25 years old. You are an adult. You have a voice. You have a choice. And you can offend other people because you cannot make everyone happy. And that's not possible. And so the person learns it's okay to say no. In the beginning, it's very difficult for the person who is fawning because now they have to actually tolerate their own anxiety
right.
regarding other person's feelings. So if I said no to that birthday party for the very first time, a lot of anxiety will come up in me because the people pleaser in me is not used to saying no. And so now sitting in that negative emotion or in that anxiety of it's okay to disappoint others as long as I am able to function, in a way whereby I'm not moving like a headless chicken. By the way, it was me, even me in my life. I have done phoning so many times, and I used to move like a headless chicken because I used to say yes to everything. Even if I had 20 things, I would say yes and yes. And then I would get overwhelmed. And that overwhelm means I'm going to now going to be angry at somebody at home. And that someone who is going to be my, what do you say, my loved one, my child or my husband or my parents. Someone is going to get the brunt of me feeling depleted. And
Mm,
hence, it is so important for the person who is in therapy is learning to say no. So in the therapy setting, you learn first make daily promises, small things, right? Saying no to small things like, I'm sorry. I will not like say, go to this I will not go an extra mile for someone because I can't. I matter. I need to fill my cup first because when I am filled, then only I can help, I can pour in another person's cup. Another analogy I would like to give is the oxygen mask. When we are in the plane, we are told if there is an emergency, you put the mask first on yourself, then you help others. What it means is your needs matter. And when you are going to take care of yourself first, you are able to be kind to others.
Absolutely. I love that example of the oxygen mask. It just explains everything we've discussed in one line. And yeah, I think therapy is something which has helped, like even it has helped me a lot. It's been a few years that I've done it, and I think I'm a more self-aware person now. I've found out things about myself which I really did not know, and that it was impacting my life. If anyone has any myths about therapy or anything like, oh, you have to be crazy to go for it, that is not true. People are lying to you. Just go once, try it out, and I'm telling you, you're going to thank yourself. And now, coming to the last question, and I think it's a very, very interesting question as well, is what are some ways to deal with low self-esteem and negative self-talk, because these are such common things. Like sometimes you don't even know you're doing it. Like you might just you know probably you have a meeting or something for like a university club or a school club, and you might just be like, you know what, I don't think I can do it. They're so much more intelligent than me. I don't think my ideas are going to be that interesting. And how do you work on these things, because these are such common habits?
I hear you. And definitely, this goes back to childhood. You have low self-esteem because, the parents did not celebrate you, they did not see you, or they were just either they were not available. They were very busy in their own busyness in their life. And hence, low self-esteem is something that can't be dealt with in a different way. So, yes, having the negative self-talk, we have to understand in our mind we have many voices. It's not only the negative self-talk. We have the cheerleader. We also have the one who is really courageous. We have that smart person inside our head also. So we have multiple voices, and we have to realize not all these voices are ours, especially the low self-esteem one, the negative self-talk one. That
Mhm.
is actually one of your caregivers, who you have actually, heard, and now you have absorbed that negativity. And hence, how I would go about that is I would say in our head, there are multiple voices, and we have a chairperson in
Hmm.
our head. That chairperson is your adult self. So, what you need to do as a person is you need to stand up when the negative talk is going on and the self doubt is coming up. The chairperson has to stand up, the adult self, activate it and say, hey, buddy, you know what? Take a seat. I know I can do this. You need to sit down, and you know what? I got this. So,
Hmm.
activating your adult self and reassuring yourself that, you know what? Courage is built by doing difficult things. And if
Hmm.
we want to, break the pattern or build a muscle, is to do difficult things. And putting yourself out there looks like making sure that negative self talk goes down. You talk yourself out of it by activating the adult self and giving yourself this room to feel safe and feel compassion for yourself. It's okay. I know you're afraid. When you activate the adult self talk to the inner child and says, it's okay. I know you are afraid. I know you feel you are not like the other person. However, you are unique in your own ways. So, learning to accept yourself for who you are, not comparing yourself with other people, because you are who you are and you are beautiful the way you are. You are uniquely you, and there's nobody else on this earth like you. And so, talking to yourself in that manner, putting yourself out there, and trying to do things. or doing things that are difficult for you, because that is courage. When you put yourself out there, the first time is going to be difficult. The
Yeah.
second time is going to be less difficult. But by the time you do that fifth time, you have now already built the muscle to confront your negative self talk. And what you have done is you have built a muscle in your brain to actually do difficult things. And actually, there's a special word for this, We have a reticular system in our brain. So when you are going to do things differently, you are going to build a muscle and you are going to face your challenges, be courageous, and put yourself out there. What will happen is over time, you are going to be able to actually overcome negative self talk, because it's that talk which does not serve you. And hence, you are aware of activating the chairperson, which is your adult self, and then telling yourself, you know what? It's okay. It's okay to put yourself out there, and it's okay to fail, right? Only challenges, we can grow in challenges when we put ourselves out there, right?
Right.
And it only comes through practice. And if we do not do it, then how will it work? Yeah, it's not going to work, because what we want is we want to build our confidence. And to build your confidence, you have to put yourself out there. And you might not do well the first time or the second time, but by doing it repeatedly, you are going to really, really bring up your self-confidence gradually, baby steps. Yeah. And so I would say that this is how you actually can talk yourself out of it. And it might sound difficult, because somebody having very low self-esteem means they cannot give a talk. However,
Yeah.
start small. I would say daily promises, start small things. What can you say no to? What do you find hard to say yes to? Right?
Mm.
So saying yes to things which might be less challenging. So let's say maybe giving a talk is very challenging. How about just going out with a friend, asking somebody for a coffee? Maybe putting yourself out there is difficult. So maybe asking a friend for a coffee is difficult. So start with that first. Then you can build it up. When you are okay, able to now speak up and like go out with your friends and being able to be yourself a little, then you can do something more difficult, like okay, now I can tell people, like I'm comfortable to call people out on a coffee date. Now I'm able to maybe do something small, like participate in class, raise my hands, give my opinion. So that's the next step. You start speaking how you feel in class, you share your point of view. That's the second step. After 3 months, you can now step up to say, I'm able to now put myself out there and go and do a public speaking event, or so this is how you build yourself up. It starts with a coffee date, then raising your hand in class, speaking your truth, and then going to public speaking. And then over time, as you do that, you put yourself out there, the unfamiliar becomes familiar, and you feel amazing, because as you win, you understand you can do this. You really can. There's nothing stopping you. And it's just you holding yourself back when you are not putting yourself out there.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you, because and what you said about small steps, because a lot of times people tend to just directly go and do the hard things, and then they tell themselves that I can't do this is too hard. But I highly believe in small steps, because baby steps, just 1% better than yesterday. And I highly agree with that. And even what you said about positive affirmations, they can do really, really great results. Like, I remember once
Yes.
I was very, very nervous before a presentation, because I was presenting in front of like 40, 50 people, and it was a graded presentation. So it's not like I could mess up, and so I told myself stuff like really positive things. And honestly, that presentation went really well. And I can guarantee that like positive affirmations are the key. If you have an interview, if you have a presentation, if you have a anything, like whatever you have, tell yourself that you can do it, you are capable, and look at yourself with love. Don't ever, like, I know it's difficult, but like you said, small steps. And honestly, I enjoyed speaking on this topic today. This is one of my favorite topics, honestly. And I'm so happy that you came on my show and spoke and gave us all an opportunity to reflect on ourselves and thereby work on ourselves. So, thank you so much for today. And thank you everyone for listening. And see you all in the next episode.